Good morning, friends. This session is dedicated to all language lovers, particularly for learning correct use of adverbs, and the most important thing that is basic English. Why are you emphasizing this word basic English? Because generally what happens that children studying in higher classes or even in junior classes, class 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and those who are preparing for their various competitive exams, they do not know the correct use of certain grammatical items. So today we will be taking certain, important adverbs, like adverbs of affirmation. What is adverb of affirmation? A word which affirms or makes the certainty of an action. For example, she will truly help you. He will truly come to your expectations. He will certainly do the work. So, truly, certainly, these are adverbs of affirmation. Why should we use in day to day spoken English adverbs of affirmation? They emphasize that the action will be done in certainty. For example, the government will truly take into account of all the deaths caused due to lack of oxygen. The discussion in the parliament will truly lead to some conclusion regarding the further steps to be taken if the wave 3 comes. So the parliament will certainly discuss the issues related to the steps to be taken further. So certainly, truly, these are the adverbs of affirmation. In day-to-day spoken English, we often use adverbs of affirmation to emphasize that the action will be done in certainty. Like now, adverbs of negation, just opposite of that. There are three such words: not, never, no. These no, not, never are adverbs of negation. What are they? They will certainly prove that the action will not be done, or the action will not be not taking place. Like he did not reply to my letter. So here it says, this the negation, that he couldn't reply to the letter. Relative adverbs. Relative adverbs join sentences. They denote place, reason, or many times they also uh, denote manner. Like I don't know where he has gone. So when you say I don't know where he has gone, where here is adverb of that is a relative adverb that joins two clauses. I don't know is the main clause. Where he has gone is the adverb, the clause of subordinating clause, giving place, adverb of place. Where I don't know where he has gone. He will come when I will call him. Interrogative adverbs: why, when, how are adverbs of interrogation, or you may call them interrogative adverbs. Like where has she seen me? Adverbs, interrogative adverbs are generally used in the beginning of the sentence. When has he come? Where has she seen me? Uh, how has he done that? So adverb of interrogative adverbs or adverb of interrogation are generally used in the beginning of the sentence. Why are you so surprised? That is, here why is an interrogative adverb which is emphasizing the cause, the reason. Very is used before present participle, and much is used before past participle. Generally, what happens that the students get confused with the use of very and much. Much is used before past participle. Like he was much troubled at hearing the news. He was much surprised. Here it is surprise is past participle V3, and it is very interesting. The story is very interesting, very amusing. Very is used before present participle, verb plus ing. But in certain cases, there are certain exceptions where you can use very with certain, I mean, participles also. Like she is very tired. You can't say she is much tired. She is very dejected. Yes, he is very delighted. So very can also be used with certain past participle in exception, but generally much is used before past participle. Like much admired, he is a much admired gentleman, he is a much admired scientist, she is a much admired musician, she is a much admired singer, he was much surprised at the news. And very is used before present participle. The story is very interesting. And the word quite, quit, means completely or rightly, that she is quite lovely. Fairly and rather, see, there is always a confusion between fairly and rather. Actually, fairly comes with positive sense, and rather comes with negative sense. Or rather, I can say rather is with used with positive and comparative degree, but with unpleasant adjectives. Like, what do you mean by unpleasant adjectives? The adjectives which do not give any good sense. Like you say, na, the question was rather difficult. She was rather dull at hearing. Rather dull. Here, dull is unpleasant adjective. You can never use dull in a good sense. Similarly, the lady was rather wicked. See, never say she was fairly wicked, but you can say that her appearance was fairly good. Her appearance was fairly pleasant. Her appearance was fairly attractive. So whenever you are using fairly, use in a good sense. That the lady was fairly charming. In don't, but when you are using about the behavior of a person, unpleasant behavior, don't say that the man was fairly wicked, rather wicked. Use rather. Never use fairly. That lady was, or that giant was, rather cruel. The man was rather, you know, deaf. She was rather dull. So rather is used with unpleasant adjectives, whereas fairly used with pleasant and positive and comparative. Like you can say that the question was fairly good, or she was fairly better at working, like that. Now, like adjective, we can make comparison of, I mean, adverbs also. Comparative adverbs like positive, comparative, and superlative. What is that? Hard, harder, harder. Hard is itself adverb, and harder is a comparative of adverb. Like, it is hard work for me. The work was harder than I expected. The hardest work that she did was appreciable, like that. The early, earlier, earliest. He came a bit early. It is positive. He came earlier than we expected, comparative. He came earliest of all, that is superlative. In the similar way, soon, sooner, soonest. Come soon. He came sooner than we expected. The soonest he came, he was applauded. Beautifully, more beautifully, most beautifully. The work was crafted beautifully. This work was crafted more beautifully than that work, or than that of, like, she was most beautifully dressed. She was most beautifully dressed. This girl is more beautifully dressed than that girl. Then far, further, furthest. Far is positive, further is comparative, and furthest is, what is your furthest plan? We will talk further if get time. Similarly, much more, most. This is much interesting when we are talking about it. That work is more entertaining than this, and this is the most entertaining work. Well, better, best. Positive adverbs are also used often. Adverb is always placed adjacent to the word it modifies. See, one adverb placed in a different position can have different meaning. Like, you see now, only she saw my dress. That means the dress was just seen by one person. Only she saw my dress means there was no one who could see my dress. Only she could see my dress. So only she saw my dress. Here only emphasize that lady who was only there. Nobody else was there. Only it was seen by one person. But when I say she only saw my dress, that means she did not see my shoes, she did not see my books, she did not see my appearance. She only saw my, what do you call it? She saw my dress. So she only saw my dress means nothing else she saw, only my dress she saw. She saw my only dress. I had only one dress, and that she saw the lying there. So she saw my only dress. I had no other dress other than. And the last one, she saw my dress only, nothing else. She saw simply my dress. And the last one is interrogative adverbs that I said: when, how, and why. When are you returning home? This is interrogative adverb. In order to modify a complete sense, we use adverb in the beginning of the sentence. Why should we use adverb in the beginning of the sentence? Like surely I will help you. So surely is used in the beginning of the sentence to emphasize the complete sentence. Like certainly we will do that. Here comes the chief guest. Here emphasizes the entire sentence, and therefore when you want to emphasize the entire sentence, then use the adverb in the beginning of the sentence. Like here comes the train, there goes the chief guest, like that. So when you are using adverb in the beginning of the sentence, it is completely emphasizing the entire sentence and giving a very beautiful meaning. So that is how we can make typical use of adverbs. Thank you. This is Mr. Eddie Singh on the channel Easy English by Eddie Singh, talking about basic English.